Hello and welcome to the Miraculous Being series. I'm your host and self mastery coach, Shweta Shivraman, and this is a show where we discover, learn, and implement lessons from others' life journeys. Others who I believe epitomize miraculous in its true spirit. Individuals who live life to the fullest, who worked hard on themselves to reach where they are, and are passionate in what they do. Today's speaker is Samriti, a trained and practicing clinical psychologist and founder of Mental Health at Work, a vertical of Equilibrio Advisory LLP. She comes with extensive experience of partnering with working professionals to address their personal and professional issues. Her work covers areas of self development, emotional regulation, workplace issues, relationships, marriage, parenting, work life balance, emotional abuse in significant relationships, domestic violence, and coping with critical situations. This episode is a part of our series on mental health for high achievers with psychologists, and today we are exploring the what, why, and how to navigate burnout. Let's dive in. Hi, Samriti. So nice to have you here on the Miraculous Being Show. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you, Shweta. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that we have so much to talk about today, but I'll probably start off with like a very easy, segue for people to also understand the work that you've been doing so far. So I know a lot of your work is with high achievers and corporate professionals juggling personal and professional lives. So maybe we could start off with by saying what are some of the common mental health challenges you've seen or noticed across this set of clients?
I think it's going to really be on a spectrum here. And when you talk about the concerns that they come up with, right? And let me really bucket them into some categories as well, because how it presents itself could be very different, right? One could be coming from a space of being able to regulate their emotions more effectively. So coming forth, talking about how they've been experiencing very high levels of anxiety, feeling very low, seeing that there are a lot of anger outbursts coming in, the tolerance level has gone down, patience level has gone down. So there could be also emotions coupled with the behavioral changes that they're noticing as well. So that could be one aspect. So emotional like anxiety, depression, may not clinical, but how the terminology that they use is, I'm feeling very depressed and very low. Uh, Feeling very insecure right now, feeling very overwhelmed. That's a very common thing that we experience as well. I'm finding myself very irritable, short-tempered, uh, so feeling low in self-confidence. So that's the emotional category that they come up with. And sometimes they really come in terms of from the work aspect. The fact that I'm not able to focus as effectively. My turnaround time has gone down. I'm not feeling seen at the workplace. So there have been a lot of interpersonal conflict that's been happening at the workplace. I don't, then that's also then leads to another aspect sometimes, which we have people who are getting to this middle management, semi-high management as well. The fact that what is the purpose of all of this? Why am I really doing this as well right now? I'm away from family. My health has deteriorated. I'm not feeling acknowledged at work. I don't know what am I really doing. There's a lot of existential questions that start coming in as well. That about purpose, about meaning, about why am I here? Why am I really doing this? And I'm just feeling very perturbed with that conflict itself of these questions that they're experiencing. Then they could also come in from the health perspective. A lot of high achievers have come forth in terms of that experiencing psoriasis, skin problems, being able to put on weight. Young people being diagnosed with hypertension, diabetes, and saying that the doctors are telling me that I need to consult a psychologist because it seems all stress induced. So one could be health issues as well. Then sometimes there could be interpersonal conflicts have really gone up, feeling very, very alienated. Right? When you really talk about social well-being, I think that's really has plummeted in these situations, feeling that I'm part of a group, but I'm not enjoying myself. I don't remember the last time I laughed my heart out. Find myself smiling less right now. I'm not present in here and now. There's been complete loss of interest. Nothing enthuses me at this point in time. Motivation levels are very low. Sometimes it could also come up because they have realized it themselves, or the feedback may have come in from their families and significant other. So when you talk really about the spectrum of it, it could present itself in different ways, and then that's how the conversation really starts.
Right, right. And I feel like I could do hours on each of those buckets because you touched upon so many things, right? I think very initially you said about how feeling overwhelmed is such a constant emotion. And that's something we also see so much in the Being Miraculous community, that so often that, you're overwhelmed at the amount at which life is throwing things at you. And then it gets hard to juggle. What is it if, say, someone who's listening in today is probably experiencing that or is listening it in from that space of overwhelm? What would be a good starting point to actually manage that?
I think firstly acknowledging it, and it's very very important, and sitting with that sense of overwhelm that we're experiencing as well. Because I'm a strong believer when you talk about emotions, emotions come in because they want to communicate something to you. It's a language that they're trying to communicate to you, either through your emotional expression, your behavioral changes, through your body. It's constantly trying to communicate something, so do not dismiss it. It's just like, if you a thermometer shows that you have 100 degrees Celsius, that means you have like your fever of 100, so that means you need to slow down. It's okay to take that day off, right? uh, so it's important that when you are feeling a sense of overwhelm, acknowledge that. uh, right? Often I think, when especially because you did talk about high achievers, right, the idea is it's okay, I can push through this,
Mm.
right? And sometimes people take pride in pushing through that aspect as well, that I'm not giving up. And it's often gets displaced by perseverance, and how perseverance is applauded, is appreciated, right? But slowing down is
Mm.
not, unfortunately, in our society, in the kind of setups that and systems that we work in as well. So when you're saying that I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's okay. And bring that compassion and kindness to yourself. Just how we would do that to someone else. If someone tells us, feeling overwhelmed, it's okay. Take a break. Just sit down. Do you want to talk about it? We bring so much compassion for the other person, but we fail to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh, so not looking at a sense of overwhelm as if I can't manage it. It's usually a function of the fact that we've been trying too hard for a very long time, and our resources are getting depleted gradually.
Mm.
And or maybe the demands being placed on us are so immense that it is difficult, and it can be difficult, right? And if a system like can feel overburdened, can heat it up, uh, I mean, we are humans at the end of the day. So just bringing that compassion for ourselves right now, sitting with a sense of overwhelm. And once we do that, we acknowledge it, it
Mm.
becomes easier to work through it as well.
Right, right.
Yes, that would be the starting point, I would say.
Yeah, acknowledging it, sitting with it. Two things that we probably avoid, right? Thanks to Netflix and the kitty binge available, that we can just
Yeah.
avoid everything that we are feeling. But I think one common conversation that I have with most of my coaching clients in the community as well is that whenever we discuss around these things around compassion, slowing down, stepping back, most high achievers feel a little bit threatened by it because they feel that, hey, this ambition, this drive, this is what has helped me get so far, right? And now if you tell me that, I should slow down or set back or anything else, right? If they discover that, oh, what will happen to that drive or ambition, will I get complacent? And this is a common thing that I hear often, so I would love your perspective. If there are listeners here who still feel that, stepping down or slowing down or being compassionate would mean that you're compromising on that ambition or drive, that fuel to get you somewhere.
Yeah. And I think I completely agree with that, because I think that's an experience I've also had with a lot of my clients as well. Because when you talk really about slowing down, there is a lot of meaning making that happens around slowing down as well. That firstly, I think, why do I need to slow down? Other people are not slowing down. So why do I need to? Then it very quickly gets internalized that, no, do I not have it in me to be able to hold this position, to be able to manage the demands? And then very quickly we start associating with that with our self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's where the confidence level really goes, right? Self-doubt comes in, anxiety comes in, anger, irritation comes in towards ourselves, and so that I'm not able to manage it. Because
Mm.
closely linked to the fact slowing down means that I'm not capable enough.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy enough to be able to hold this position as well. I'm in the wrong place, right? And these are also the messages that we also keep on getting, right? That you don't have enough drive in you. You don't have that fire in you to do that. Now get that aggression back, and those are the messages that we also get in the formal workspaces, right? So it really feeds into that idea that I cannot slow down. I need to move forward. Then the other thing I do, I need to slow down. Then if I do slow down, what will be the ramifications for it? That means me slowing down, other people are going to get ahead of me. And when we look at our organization structures, it's a pyramid structures, right? There's space for only one as we move forward, right? If I slow down, that means I'm making way for the other person. It's like the Formula One race that you're talking about, right? And when they get ahead of me, it's not that they are getting ahead of me at this point in time. That means the distance is going to keep on increasing, and I will take that much longer to get there. So slowing down means right now having long-term consequences, and that brings a lot of fear and anxiety. So we push through that as well right now. So, and these are the reasons why it's very difficult to slow down. And also there is not that narrative as well where slowing down is normalized. So it's anywhere uphill battle that we are having not only with ourselves, but also with the systems. Because if you have that appraisal call and you've taken a sabbatical as well, or you've refused to take a managerial position right now, we can't give you that kind of a hike. We can't consider you as an opportunity as well. Or if we have brought in that vulnerability, the fact that I need to just be a little selective of the projects I'm undertaking, what kind of work am I really doing? And then the internal conversation could be, should we really consider this person for this opportunity? What if they decide to slow down? Right? And we know that kind of conversations do exist in the background, and that noise also affects us at this point in time. So I understand why it is difficult to slow down, right? Because of these conversations that are happening internally or externally as well. But why we still talk about it as coaches and as therapists to slow down, right? And so one of the analogies I tend to really use with my clients is the fact, say, you decide to take a road trip from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, right? You can, if you check on Google Maps, it'll show you X number of days in which you can do it. Can you really cover the entire distance in the same number of days and hours as followed by Google Maps? Let me ask that question to you, Shweta.
Absolutely not.
Why not? Google Maps says it's possible. You can drive through in X number of days and hours from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and one can do it, right? So why not? What will happen in the process?
Either the car will break down or the driver, one of us.
Yeah, the car will break down on the driver. So would we say that the car doesn't have it in it to be able to drive from Kashmir to Kanyakumari? Or the driver doesn't have it in there?
Not really. They can. You're just choosing not to.
They're capable of doing it, right? But there's so many other factors that will also play a role in making that drive as well, right? The car will, even if you're driving the Jaguars and the Rolls Royce of the cars as well, it will get heated up. It will need a break for fuel. It will need a break just to, so that the rubber doesn't start burning itself right now, right? So you would need to give that break. And if you do that break consistently, you will be able to achieve your goal in the time that you set out for yourself. But you're going in much more informed and in charge and under control. But if we make that kind of an unrealistic goal for ourselves, and I'm going to do that in as many times that the Google Maps is set out for myself, I'm already setting myself up for failure. Right? So slowing down intentionally helps us to achieve our goal consistently. But if you're going to try and fight that, we will be setting ourselves up for failure. And that's why slowing down has to be a choice, an intentional choice that we make as part of the process, so that you don't have to slow down because the car has broken down right now. I don't have a choice, but to just take that pause right now. And we may find ourselves in spaces where there could be no support, in the middle of a jungle, in the middle of on the highway, where there is no access to petrol pump, there's no access to support as well. So we find ourselves in unfamiliar territories and feeling loss of control significantly.
Yeah. Wow, such a powerful analogy, and about slowing down intentionally so that we can work towards our goal consistently. I think that's such a powerful reminder. And like you said, or maybe a lot of these illnesses and health issues that we probably develop is when we don't really notice those signals and still keep going and pushing ourselves against it no matter what. And that's where maybe stress also has become such a commonplace syndrome that almost all of us as adults experience some level of stress, and it's constantly there. And now I think there is a lot of burnout added to the mix. Post the pandemic, I think there's a lot more conversations around burnout as well. And just to clarify, maybe, stress and burnout, how are they different before we go deeper there?
Right. So stress is, let me start with what do you really mean by stress, right? When do we experience stress? So stress is a balance between your demands and your resources, very simply put, right? When we have certain demands are placed on us and we think we have the resources to deal with it, we are we're comfortable. We may not experience stress. And even if we experience stress, that comes at types of stress as well. But when the demands outweigh the resources that we have, that's when we start feeling stressed out because we don't have it. Let me give you a simple example, right? Say you have 10,000 rupees in your bank account. Someone asks you for 1 rupee. Would you really worry and think too much about it? Yeah. Say now someone asks you, say, for 5,000 rupees, right? What would be the reaction out here? You may have to weigh the pros and cons of it, who is asking this? Can I really manage it? When is going to be my next salary coming in as well, right now? So you're going to be some conversation can still be managed because you still have 5,000.
Yeah.
Now someone asks you for 9,999 rupees.
Much harder.
Much harder, right? And now someone asks you, say, for 12,000 rupees. So can you see how the stress level is going to change for us? So stress is exactly like it's on a curve. So as your demands increase and the disparity between the demand and resources start increasing, that's when you start experiencing stress. Now imagine you have your EMIs going out of 12,000 every month consistently for about a year or so, right? And when you do not have any other alternate avenues and you're constantly being depleted of those resources, you've taken loans, you've taken money, you've done everything right now, you still feel that you're short of it. That's when result into burnout. Right? So it's very important. So what we need to do is to be able to manage stress, that we're consistently trying to either reduce our demands or increase our resources. And how we do that, we can also talk about that conversation. The other thing that we also is important to understand is the types of stress. So there's eustress and distress. So often people, when talk about stress and burnout, they talk about distress. But there's also eustress that we experience, right? The stress which increases demand, but also is something that we're looking forward to. Say, for example, getting married to a person, to the person that you love, when you're trying to start a family, people want you to start a family, and then you get to know that you've been going to be blessed with a child. Or the fact that you've been waiting for a promotion to start handling a team, right? And you get that step up right now from being a team, part of a team to becoming a team lead or team manager, right? So that kind of things. Or the fact that you've been really hoping for an opportunity in a different geography, right? And you get that. Now, all of that will also start increasing demands on you. But the excitement level is so high, the motivation level is so high that you start looking forward to it as well. So it's also placing a stress on you because of the increase in demands. But the emotions associated with that are very positive. Right? And you also feel that you have it in you have the resources in you to be able to manage it, which can really change, right? So, for example, unplanned pregnancy, you were not prepared for it, right? Or the fact that suddenly, someone else was to travel and they have fallen sick or they can't travel, their visa hasn't come through. And you said, you have a valid visa, please travel. You have no idea about the project. That's going to put you in a very, very stressed state that you don't have, whether you don't know whether you have the resources to deal with it or not. So that's how we need to understand stress as well. And if we understand the thumb rule of why we experience stress, it becomes easier then to work through the interventions as well. So reducing demands, how? Do I delegate? Do I hire more people? Do I need to upskill myself? What is that I really need to be able to manage those demands as well, right? Or to increase my resources again. talk to my family, take care of my sleep, food, exercise, simple things, right? Or the fact to be able to start talking to people, get a mentor, get a coach. Again, how to really increase my resources? It could be through personal resources by focusing on your health, sleep, food, exercise, simple ones, right? Second would be time management,
Mm.
effective communication, drawing boundaries, asserting ourselves, delegating. So then also becomes how can we use either knowledge base, technology, people, and that's how we start increasing our resources as well. So it all depends, and I'm guessing we'll get to more detailed conversation around stress management as well. So that's how we really understand stress and why we experience it.
Yeah, I think beautiful. I think the way you simplified it, it's almost like a mathematical equation now, right? So either you reduce the demands or you increase your resources to be able to cope with it. And somewhere, I think what you said is that if you're not coping with these stressors on a regular basis, the outcome, in a way, is burnout. That you eventually find yourself in a space where you're depleted completely and you're unable to cope with
Yeah.
whatever is the incoming demands that's coming in. And I think one interesting thing that we touched upon is also around how a lot of us sometimes don't even realize that we are tapped out, right? Until it's a little quite too late, right?
Yeah.
So, from your experience of working with clients, what are some of the obvious telltale signs that you can say that, okay, this is a sign of burnout that is setting in or is already manifested in a large way?
So I think one aspect that we really talk about is your sleep and quality of sleep.
Mm,
That tells you how whether you're experiencing stress and how it's really impacting you as well. So when you talk about sleep, could be that you're going to bed but taking a very long time to fall asleep.
mm,
That's one. Second, you are getting up in the middle of the night, or you're getting up very early. Or you're sleeping through the entire night, but when you get up, you're still feeling tired,
mm,
not recharged, not rejuvenated. There's still a lot of tiredness. Um, there's this inertia of even getting out from bed as well. So your sleep really tells you how you're doing emotionally and mentally. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect could also be, like I said, one of the presenting concerns that we have. So, second could be in terms of any changes in behavior that one notices. For example, someone who's been very, very patient and suddenly find themselves, the patient level is dropping right now. Irritation is setting in, anger outbursts are increasing, becoming more snappy, less patience to even have a conversation as well, not finding themselves not really being present in that situation. So when you start noticing these changes in behavior or in your interpersonal connections as well. So that could be another telltale sign that we can look at. Third could also be when you're at work, right? So for example, lethargy coming in, low degrees of focus. You're reading an email and you're having to read them some 3 times. Simple email as well. A task that takes about 10 minutes, is taking about half an hour as well. Motivation levels are very low. So when you start noticing these changes on the work front, right? The other thing could also be health when you're talking about. So, for example, suddenly you find yourself, there's been any changes in your appetite, changes in your weight, when you're looking at it. Say, for example, sudden loss of weight, sudden increase in weight as well. Your blood parameters, you get a blood workup done, and your parameters are outside the appropriate range as well. So those could be some of the signs again that we are noticing. So when you really look at it, how we look at, so we talk about the ABC model, right? So A is affect, which is your emotion. So any changes in your emotional state. B is your behaviors. Again, any changes in your behavior. C would be your cognitive, which is your thoughts, right? More self-doubt, more negative self-talk, being preoccupied, constant rumination of the same thing as well. Uh, so not being able to really snap out of those aspects as well. And then lastly would be your physiology, your health. So, and some people start feeling a lot of stress in their body. They say, I can feel the stress in my body. The digestive system takes a toll, so like having issue with the bowel movement, arthritis, skin problems, heart issues, diabetes, thyroid, all of these could also be stress induced as well that we talk about. So it could be any aspect of it. A lot of these neck pains, cervical pains that people do experience, back pains, a lot of headaches, migraines. So it could be very somatic as well. So ABC is what really could present itself as telltale signs of burnout.
Right. I think that acronym makes it easy for us to remember. So any affect emotional changes, behavioral changes, and cognitive thinking patterns if
And
they
somatic, so ABCs.
and
Yeah.
somatic ABCs. Okay, lovely. And a lot of times when this sets in, right, I think we are already in a space where we are not very resourceful, if I can put it that way, right? When these signs step in, we are already in a state where we are very vulnerable or think overwhelmed, if I can use that word here, right? And then, seeking out or reaching for help is also it becomes that much of a task. So what are some ways when you can see the signs but you're very overwhelmed? What is maybe some tiny acts that they can do in terms of taking care of themselves or to really start on that healing journey? Because even to there's a lot of inertia to begin when
Mm.
you're this overwhelmed.
Uh, so I think I'll start very known cliche things that people know about this lovely term that we know, work-life balance, right? But I
Wow.
think what's important to know when you talk about even this work-life balance, right? So let's understand what that really means, because it's the understanding I think is fairly varied when it comes to work-life balance. It's not Work-life balance does not mean doing equal number of things for in all aspects of our life,
Right.
right? It's about doing things that recharges us
Mm,
and rejuvenates us, right? And while we do that, not experiencing
mm. I like how we've covered all bases.
it. So the idea would when you talk about work-life balance is that it's not about it's what could be two things out of five different roles. Or the fact that, say for example, you're working 6 days a week or 5 days a week, putting at least 9 to 10 hours, right? If you do not work for 12 hours, that's okay, right? And also defining what is enough. What is enough to do at the work front in that week, on that day? How much money do I need to make? How many projects do I need to sign up for? How many voluntary activities do I need to raise my hand for? How many clients as coaches do I need to take in as well? It could be what is enough and drawing those boundaries for ourselves, because we do not know when to take a break, when to move from one role to the other role.
Yeah.
So today, if I decide, okay, this much is what I want to do, once I've done this, it's okay to move to the next role. So I now have an interesting client. So she said that she would have so she was in an individual practice, and she said, I'm going to make X amount of money. Whenever I've made this X amount of money, I'm going to take the rest of the year.
Mm,
And they were having years when she'd been able to make that X amount of money in 6 months.
mm,
She has been very disciplined to take the rest of the 6 months off,
yeah.
right? So and that's what really helps us to really add more facets to our life. Otherwise, we come back and think, my life is very unidimensional. It's only about work. It's about going to work, coming back home, and then going back to work again. There is no space for anything because we have not defined what is enough.
Yeah.
So starting point would be to decide that what is enough for ourselves as well, right? And then we being very disciplined with that, right? And when we again saying what is enough, it has to be goals which are smart goals,
Mm,
not highly aspirational. Because they say, okay, only if I make high goals for myself, I'll be able to at least achieve 70-80% of it. We always want to push ourselves even more, which is one is we are pushing ourselves, and secondly, we are not allowing ourselves an opportunity to experience a win.
yeah.
So we are working so hard, but we're consciously not allowing ourselves to experience accomplishment, success, fulfillment, which recharges us, right? Which motivates us.
Mm,
And then we feel by the end of it, I'm feeling so demotivated because we're still seeing that goal, which was 100%, because we thought we were going to start with 80%.
yeah.
So let's do 80%, make that 80 to 100%, experience it, rejoice it, celebrate it,
Yeah.
right? So that the guilt does not come in. Because that gap will always get reflected, right? I'll always say, I wanted to make 100, I made 80, which I thought I will make. But I can still say, do not do 20, so I'm going to push myself next time. So next time I will make a goal of 120, so I'll reach 100. And that's a cycle that we get into.
Yeah.
So I think that shift really needs to happen. And again, I think it's not about the person. I'm saying our systems are slightly warped there, right? So it's always about that we are trying to fit into the system that has been created for us for
Yeah.
for years and across generations as well, right?
Absolutely.
So I know I'm deviating quite a bit. I'm going to really try and sum up as
No,
well. So when you're really talking about the work-life balance, what are these goals that we set for ourselves in different areas of life? Second, drawing what is enough, making those goals which are achievable. So that's why we say SMART goals. SMART goals is specific, measurable, appropriate, realistic, time bound.
yeah.
Yeah. And SMART goals for each of these areas that are important for us.
Mm.
So at work, whether it's in terms of making X amount of money, becoming a manager, doing certain project, making some certain, what is enough for you? What is going to bring the sense of fulfillment as well? It could be in your personal life, for example, things that you want to do for your family. As a child, as a partner, as a parent, as a sibling, could be anything.
Mm.
Third could be in terms of as a friend, someone who is part of your tribe, of the community as well. Could be anything, right? Giving back to society. Could be goals for spiritual aspect. And very importantly, it's goals for ourselves. Because often in my experience, I've seen that, because we're juggling so many balls, one ball that tends to get dropped is the ball of self.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get into this if then, okay, if I do this, once I do this, when I do this, then I will do this. Right? Um, and there's not enough time. So, in fact, the other day I was having a very interesting conversation just a few days ago, which has really got me thinking a lot. And they said that, on average, so you said your people, listeners would be in the age group, say about 35, 40, right, that you're looking at as well. Say, like a 40-year-old and likely to live, say, about till 75, so they are healthy and independent. You have about 35 years left, right? And approximately but 12, 13. So when it's for 35 years, will come up to say about 12,000, 13,000 days.
Mm.
So good days, runs we a good, in a best case scenario, maybe a good healthy case scenario, on average, will be about 10,000 days. So the number of days that we are left with is only 10,000 days.
Yeah.
And the choice that we have is what do you want to do with each day? Because today, once one day is gone, tomorrow you have only 9,999 days left. And it's nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the whole idea is that what is it that we want to really take away from today? And when you say live one day at a time, that's what it really means.
Yeah.
To bring in that sense of fulfillment, achievement, satisfaction, contentment, allowing ourselves to do that is very, very important.
Yeah.
So you talk about work-life balance, that what makes you feel recharged, what brings in that sense of joy, where you feel your heart is full, what really invites that sense of contentment, and making space for that, because you only have 10,000 days left.
Yeah. Yeah, such a powerful reminder. I think when you gave that number, it reminded me of this book, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Berkman, where he really talks about how, there's it's only for, if you live up to 80, you get 4,000 weeks, right?
Yeah,
And how much of that is already gone, and all the goals that we have, that lifetime is not going to be enough to actually
yeah,
go ahead with all of your dreams, right? And
yeah,
then it really becomes, how do you define that enough? And just yesterday I was having this conversation with my yoga teacher, and he was saying that we need to figure a way out to generate contentment every single day, right? Because we can't postpone that for later, but that
yeah,
contentment has to come in through our activities and where we are investing our time and energy every single day. But like you rightly said, the systems kind of do drive us up against the wall, whether we like it or not. That rat race is a race, um, for a reason, right? And when we say that, um, define what is enough, right? I can almost immediately hear my community arguing back, saying that, but what you said, right? That others will go ahead, right?
yeah,
I will miss out on some opportunity, or there are some growth things. And there is this constant FOMO thanks to social media. You are always updated with LinkedIn on where everybody is progressing in their careers
yeah,
and in their social life, all the geographies they are hitting in travels. So this enough is such a difficult thing for you to define and stick with it.
Yeah.
right? In such a competitive world. So, what are your thoughts around that? Saying that, how do you actually be comfortable with the enough that you choose for yourself, also?
In fact, just as you spoke of LinkedIn, I actually had a client who had come in and said that how just looking at the LinkedIn app and opening it increases the anxiety significantly.
Oh,
So just opening the LinkedIn app has gotten so much anxiety because of this, what people are doing, right? And so one is people are doing, and for other people to have this need to put it up on social media constantly. And third is like you have these different social media platforms also has this algorithm, right? You need to post at least 3 to 4 times a week, this much word limit, talk about this, do these tags, and there is so many conversation around this online presence, right? And fortunately, unfortunately, people are also getting other opportunities of how present they are on social media platforms, uh, where there is no benchmarking done on the experience, skill set, or competence. So people could be very, very competent who are very active on social media, but there could be equally competent people outside as well who are making the choice not to be as active on LinkedIn, or maybe they don't have the time or the bandwidth for it. Um, but how there's this need and the pressure to take out at least 1 hour every day to put out something on social media as well. So in that work, with one of my clients, we had to consciously take a break from social media,
mm, mm,
delete the apps, not do anything, and it's okay.
yeah.
But that work, something that taking a complete cut off was required to be able to support their mental well-being. And they must be okay that they had done a lot of work around this, what is enough, and how there could be other factors that may define other people's enough very differently. Then that person was able to come back onto social media as well and not get as triggered and agitated, perturbed by looking at all of that. It was what they were able to really push that into the background then. So I think that requires a lot of work right now. But the idea is again to recognize how different things are triggering people differently as well, and really bring in these emotions which is not supporting their mental well-being. Uh, and it could be different things, right, for different people. Sometimes people feel that there is. So another client spoke of how at the workplace there's this one friend who has been very, very supportive at work, but how interacting with that friend is affecting their perception of themselves, where it's about because this person always is so calm, so composed, always have it in control, doing so well personally, professionally, growing up, growing in the career ladder. I mean, they start having those interaction with that person, and the person is also having the conversation to, to boost their confidence, to bring up their morale, but how that is negatively affecting them, that they do not have it everything under control right now. And then how to be able to even recognize people who give you that energy and also drain you with no malice of theirs, right? They may be coming from a completely noble intention from a supportive space, but how it's landing on the person could be very different.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, it's okay to make some distance with those people as well. To be able to really start viewing ourselves in a way where we feel that we are capable, we are enough, we are worthy, and we have it in us. We have those resources in us to be able to coexist with other people as well.
Yeah.
So I think just awareness is very, very important, that what really leaves us feeling overwhelmed, what really recharges us, what kind of conversations, activities, context really brings peace and calmness as well. Where we feel lightness in our body, lightness in our mind, and which are the spaces that makes us feel that we do not have it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what you touched upon there as well, right? There's this constant feeling when you look around that other people are sorted.
Yeah.
There is a feeling that okay, they have understood, they figured out their life and they seem to have everything under control. And I think when you start experiencing symptoms of burnout in your life and you see people around you who are comfortable coping, say even in your workspace, they're comfortable coping with a toxic box or a toxic culture, and you start to question saying, hey, what is wrong with me? right? Why am I not able to do it? Or, is there something in me that is at fault? And, the whole self blame and the doubt cycle begins. And like you rightly said, there's a lot of meaning making that we do around this whole burnout too. Would love to hear your thoughts around this, right? On how beyond the signs of burnout, this affects us also mentally, the meaning that we add to it.
So I think that I'm going to respond to it in two ways right now. You know, one is that what we are noticing and making meaning of what other people, how they are coping and how they are handling. That's our meaning making. It may be very far from reality.
Yeah.
I work a lot. So my primary target population is adults and corporate population, people in right from the entry level to middle management to high achievers and people in leadership as well, like during CXOs as well. And even people who are holding the CXO position are also going through their sets of anxieties and insecurities as well, right? I have so many of my clients who are doing very well for themselves, come across very confident, very successful, have it all thing as well, and still coming in feeling completely empty, very unsure of themselves, grappling with low self-confidence right now, a lot of tentativeness, or maybe even having issues and concerns, other aspects of life as well. And 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 it's much harder for them to be able to be vulnerable and say, "What? Hey, I don't know how to do this," because they almost feel the weight of the perception that people carry of them. That they're always calm, they always have it all together, they always have answers to the question, and that always is putting so much pressure on them that they're not able to even articulate it or even allow for that space to come in the fact that I do not have it together. I'm feeling stuck, that I can't go on anymore as well. So I think just bringing that perspective to the fore as well, that meaning making that you're making could be very far from reality as well.
Mhm.
That each person have their own struggles, their own concerns, and their own trajectory that they have undertaken. So even people who they seem to be doing very well for themselves and have completely under control, their trajectory is also with the crests and the troughs, right? It's not just one kind of a curve that they have as well. They've worked through all of that. Maybe they're still working through it as well. Maybe they have not even acknowledged it as well.
Mhm.
So our meaning making has to come from where we stand, right? It's like, how we see the social media photographs, with like pre-photograph and what's the current reality and what you see on social media is actually like that. Everyone has a mask on, has a facade on right now, which is very strenuous. It's very draining. So that's one. Second is the meaning making that people make of their own burnout as well, right? Their own experiences as well. And they very quickly mean that because that's the benchmark they've set for themselves, they start comparing themselves that, oh, they can do it, I can't. Something is wrong with me. And that's why the self-confidence plummets at that point in time, right? Or the benchmarking could be, so that's one thing which we've already discussed. Or the benchmarking could be that I could do it earlier, I can't do it now.
Mm.
What has changed?
Yeah.
Is something wrong with me? Am I not trying hard enough? Have I become more complacent as well? So there's that meaning making that happens in terms of how I was and how I am. I'm going to go back to the analogy of taking a drive from Kashmir to Kanyakumari.
Yeah.
First 100 kilometers from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, maybe you've gone through this, like Kashmir, Srinagar, you reached Delhi as well. Excellent, right? The drive, the energy, you'll have your music on, you're singing along right now, you're enjoying the views outside as well. Drive is very smooth, right? What happens by the time you reach Delhi? For example, right? You stop looking at the views. Music turned off, you're not even paying attention to the music as well, right? Getting irritation. In the moment someone comes, cuts your car right now, tolerance level has gone down, right? That means there's a time to take a break. If you go on till that from Kashmir to Mumbai now, what's going to really happen? I don't know if that's going to be the route. I'm not taking that right, but I'm just giving going from north to south right now, right? So what's going to really happen if I continue doing that right now? The tolerance level is going to go down, road rage will increase, irritation will increase. I'll not enjoy the journey. Yeah. And this is what is happening. And I question myself in Mumbai. I was not like this when I started from Kashmir. Why am I become like this right now? Maybe it's the heat,
Mm.
right? Maybe it's the people. Maybe the way they're driving right now. People have, and you start attributing it to other people outside. The blame game really starts there, right? So you know what I'm trying to say out here. So then either we could internalize it, something is wrong with me, that I can't really do for Kashmir to Mumbai as well, or I start blaming other people outside,
Yeah.
which is also what we see, right? Either people internalize it or they start finger pointing.
Yeah.
So this is what happened with the meaning making as well. If you do not take that pause and you're not very conscious of it as well, right? And that's what brings in then the meaning making that I'm a failure,
Mm.
that the meaning making could be the fact I do not have it in me. I'm not worthy of this. Other people can do it. I know of another person who has done it from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. They did not. They had said it was a fabulous. In fact, they had the best time in Bombay. Well, we don't know how many time breaks that they took, right? If we ask that question,
Yeah.
but we only look at the outcome. That's the third meaning making that we do. The success is determined by the outcome and not by the process of it.
Yeah.
We are only looking at end result right now. And the end result is telling us whether we have made it or we have not made it. So that's the third meaning making, right? And the fourth meaning making that happens is about future.
Mm.
If I take a break right now, if I take a pause, if I do not have it in me, I'm not worthy of this. Should I continue operating in the same line? What does it really mean for me in the future as well?
Yeah.
So when you really talk about this meaning making, it could be past and also future right now,
Yeah.
along with what I need to be doing present, right? So it's a function of just multiple aspects. But I think for the listeners, what will be important is that what is your meaning making telling you, right? Also, whether it's internal or external. And these are also the telltale signs that we're talking about. That stress is creeping in. We
Yeah.
are moving towards that curve of from eustress to distress. I started with eustress because this drive from Kashmir to Kanyakumari has become a distressing experience
Yeah.
for us. We need to put only that much pressure to ourselves where we are. So then look at like it's a bell curve. So
Yeah.
we need this much pressure to give our optimal performance. So what is the peak of the pressure that we can take to be able to deliver our best? Anything beyond that is going to be a downward curve. When the distress starts really coming in, demands are outweighing the resources.
Right. Right. And I think that is where a lot of the compassion part of it that you spoke is probably coming in when we start associating with these meanings and recognize that regardless of all of this, we do still need to take a break. And that was one other question that I had for you is that a lot of times, even though we do take a break, we want to make the breaks also productive, right? Now we've reached that stage where, okay, sabbatical is all right if you want to take, but what is it that you're going to get out of the sabbatical? So even that has become a productivity raise wherein we want to make the breaks add up
Yeah,
to something. So
yeah,
what does a rest really look like when you
yeah,
notice signs of burnout?
yeah. And I think when you talk about break, right? So people always say that after like a break, also they say I need another break because the break itself was so taxing and so exhausting, right? And I think there's another terminology that we tend to use. I'm sure you'll be familiar with this. What's this toxic productivity, right?
Yeah.
Which is not only when you're working, but also about for the breaks as well.
Mm.
How do we extract the most from our breaks and not what all are we doing as well? And we really feel productive and as well. So whether it's about taking, if you're taking a 2 week break, then where are we traveling,
Yeah.
right? And then yes, traveling can be very exciting. It's something that we want to really do, but just the whole planning itself can be again so overwhelming and tiring in that spaces, right? Or the fact that if there are weekends that what is a Saturday night plan, and then also feel that there is no Saturday night plan. I mean, my life is so boring. That means I have no friends. I have no social support. Uh, I've got no invitation for this weekend. Uh, where does my really the social standing is at this point in time? Am I really missing out on something? And which gets also feed when you go to Instagram and you see people are posting the pictures of the Friday nights, Saturday nights, and where they've been going and or going for the trek or doing for that pottery class and the art class, and then you feel I'm doing nothing with my life. We also saw that during COVID, right? And there was grieving, there was death, there was illness all around us. And people are posting pictures of the fact of work from home, wonderful. I think that's the time to pursue your interests, your hobbies. And that itself will bring so much anxiety as well. So I think there is so much pressure that's also associated with rest.
Yeah.
The things we need to do something, but rest means that we are resting, right? The fact it's like, let me, so often the analogy, I'm going to change a bit of the analogies that I tend to use with my clients is about putting our phones, right? What happens when you put your phone on charge? How often do we tend to use our phones? We often say, don't make calls, it's not safe, right? And the phone is putting on charge right now. Or when the phone is low on battery, turn off all your background apps that could be working in the background. Rest has to mean the same way for us because rest means that we are recharging our batteries. If we are also working while we are resting, it's not rest, right? And again, rest could also mean different for different people. Rest could mean just sleeping in. For some people, rest could mean going for a swim. Rest could mean reading. Rest could mean just sitting and talking to friends. Rest could mean going for a walk in nature. But the idea is that when you come back from rest, the batteries have been recharged. If you were at 20%, you come back with at least 50%. If you were at 50%, that you come back with 85%. You're not coming back with 35%. That is rest. And whatever recharges your batteries is very important. Whatever recharges you makes you feel rejuvenated, you feel that motivation has gone up. So that's very important.
Yeah.
And the rest also, for some of my clients, they said that even taking a 2-day break has not been recharging. For some people, it's been like even taking 2 weeks is not enough because they are so drained out, so tired, then that sabbatical is needed.
Yeah.
So do that complete cutoff. So it could mean different, what you do, the nature of the rest, the frequency of trust of rest and duration of rest could mean different for different people as well.
Yeah.
And allowing for that, not questioning it, because once you question it, that means you've again not embraced it, not acknowledged it.
Right.
And so that, and again, I think that sensitivity also has to come in for managers as well. Right? You just took a break. Why you need a break again? Right? I think just bringing that sensitivity again for leaders and stakeholders becomes very, very important to allow for that and then to normalize those conversations as well, because otherwise it's hard to take that rest when systems don't support us.
True.
And then the pressure to just push through it, right? Because that's just what is expected of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one is to really rewire our own mindsets in terms of how we are looking at these things, but then also collectively as a society and as a culture, what are we really propagating in our spaces, right? I think it's a lot to introspect, and I feel like we can go on and on, but in the interest of time, if there is some takeaways that you'd like to share with our listeners on navigating burnout or avoiding even reaching the stage of burnout, what would you want them to take away from our conversation today?
I think I want to reiterate that to each listener that what you're doing is enough. It's very important to have that reminder that you're enough, you're giving your best. You don't have anyone to prove that you have it in you more, to keep pushing that. Invite that compassion for yourself, that kindness for yourself. If you do take those consistent breaks, it'll be easier to sustain the pressures and the expectation that we have from ourselves and society and the families and systems have from us as well. But if we do not take the break, we have this disillusion idea of perseverance. It will catch up, and then you will be forced to take a break as well. So before that happens, before life takes control of you, you take control of your life.
Yeah. Powerful. Thank you, Samriti. I think there was so many nuggets of wisdom there from your experience that I'm sure so many listeners are going to keep coming back to this. And thank you for sharing so generously. And I'm sure the analogy will definitely stick. Kashmir to Kanyakumari.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you for making it this possible and having this conversation with me. Very
Uh,
close to my heart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta.